we'll take a few questions, and then I got to get back to work.
Chip, you mentioned that this is the next step. How far away do you think Georgia is from providing this to all parents in Georgia?
Well, as the second signer of Senate Bill 90, which is still sitting, I believe, in Education Committee, I don't know the answer to that question. I think that the special needs scholarship has done a world of good for us because we took something that we could see was working in other states, but it was still a theory here in Georgia. We've put it to the test, and it has passed with flying colors. So I don't think there's any doubt that it works. It's how far do we progress, and how long does it take to move down that progression till ultimately we reach the point where every parent has the choice of an educational setting for their children, and that's what we ultimately want to get to. So I don't hide that. I'll say this: I've talked about educational choice in every speech I've given in the last 2 years, and the one simple question remains that those who oppose it just simply can't answer, and that is, how could you ever say that less choice is preferable to more choice? Giving parents and students more choice is always the better option, and that's simply what we're looking for.
Senator, one of the criticisms of the current voucher bill is that there's not enough help at the Department of Education, just one person running it, and so payments have been slow, and I know that part of the bill is to try and get some of those payments back on time to the private schools. So I'm wondering, do you have any aspects of the bill, or do you have any plans for addressing staffing at the Department of Ed to handing out these scholarships?
Yeah, we're not planning to dictate what they do in their department, but I will say this: we would encourage the Department of Education to embrace educational choice at every level. And unfortunately, I think that there has been some hesitancy there. And this is not casting aspersions at any individual, but educational choice is a major change from what we have here in Georgia and have had for quite some time. But it is a change for the positive. It is a change that helps students and parents. And so I would ask them to embrace it, and if they need to allocate more resources to ensuring that we give those parents the choice that they can access under law, then they need to allocate those resources.
When will there be a bill that we can make?
It's being dropped today, and so I don't even know the number that we dropped it off at the Secretary of Senate's office today. So as soon as I have a number, and I'll give you a copy of the bill. But it should be posted tonight.
When would it take effect?
July 1st.
So parents in the next school year?
Yeah.
Any ideas of how many children this could impact?
There are 15,000 foster care children in Georgia. There are 110,000 military personnel who have Georgia at 14 military installments throughout the state. But that does not include the National Guard and Reserves that are deployed right now. So we don't know what the whole universe is. And correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but typically under educational choice programs, 5 to 7 to 8% of those eligible avail themselves of the program. So that you can do the math and come out with the numbers.
That's about what we're seeing
Yeah.
on this program in Florida.
And when we talk about foster kids, who makes the decision? Would it be the foster parent? Is DFACS involved? How does that?
Under this bill, the foster parent would make the decision. Yeah.
And what kind of challenges were military families having accessing vouchers?
Well, I think the challenges that military families are having accessing proper education are the same challenges that many parents face. But unfortunately, our military is, we often talk about educational choices only available to the wealthy. And sadly, that's true in many cases. And clearly, our military families are not wealthy, so they really have no access to choice. So we believe that when you consider the sacrifices that not only the people serving, but the families are making, boy, it only makes sense to give them this same opportunity to access the very best education for their individual children.
Senator, I'm wondering what kind of support you foresee for this bill in a year when you're cutting hundreds of millions of dollars from both the current and the next year's budget.
Well, we're simply saying the money that we're going to be spending on these children anyway would simply follow them to the new educational setting. So we don't believe there'll be a negative impact on the budget. What we believe is there'll be a positive impact for education. Again, if you think about the grand scheme of what we do with education dollars is we take the money and we purchase education. That's what we're doing with it. All this is saying is let's see if we can get a better result for the dollars we're investing. So I don't suspect we'll see more dollars go into it, but what I do suspect is we'll see a much greater result when we put parents in charge of making those decisions.
What dollar amount would you put on that?
Let me follow up with Senator Rogers on that question. Remember, what this scholarship and all the proposals are talking about is just moving the state portion of the funding. Local funding stays there. So there's actually more money for fewer students at the local level. So to the extent that we're trying to help them cope with the unnecessary budget cuts that this economy has brought on, this is a way to do it.
Okay, one more.
The dollar amount then, how, if you had to put it per student?
Well, we don't have a specific dollar amount that is in the bill, but it would follow the same guidelines that we have under SB 10 now.
Is it usually enough to cover what's needed to go to a private school?
In some cases it is, in some cases it's not. But in giving the parents choice, you know, there are so many parents out there that say, boy, I would love, because every parent wants what's best for their child. I would love to put my child in this educational setting, but I just can't afford all of it. If I could get some help, I'd be willing to take that extra job, to put in that extra money. And what we've seen in many cases is that the parents are, in fact, investing a little bit more money. And I'll tell you this as a parent, anytime I start spending some money, amazingly, I become more invested in that in far more ways than just economically. And that is a wonderful side effect of having, you know, the governor always likes to call it skin in the game, but having parents involved from an emotional standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, from a fiscal standpoint. So, and tuition tax credits too. I know the tuition tax credits that are being used at for one of the organizations that I try to support. They only give the scholarships ultimately to the to parents whose income falls under a certain level. So try to help those children who don't have access. And that's what this is all about. It's helping people who don't have access now to have the best choice for their children. I know this room's getting warm. I want to thank you so much for being here. And David Pusey over here with the Center for an Educated Georgia has a lot of statistics on the research that has been done into the very successful special needs scholarship, and you can certainly follow up with him. And again, thank you for being here.